I'm Daniel Tyack. I am a father, I'm a musician, I'm a builder. I make things out of wood and metal and leather, and I crochet and all kinds of things. Website stuff, digital graphics, photography, a lot of different things. Ultimately, I think it's just creating. Anytime I'm making something, I'm generally pretty happy. If it's digital or if it's physical or if I'm melding and working with the character of my children and who they are. It's just creating, so that's what I do, I guess. Oh, Dadurday. Dadurday is a made-up holiday that happens every Saturday. So it's basically me trying to. I was working a lot with my old company. I was putting in some heavy hours, like 10 or 12 a day. And I refused to take. I worked for Saturdays for a little bit, and I absolutely hated it. Like not seeing my kids, and it was horrible. So I was like, I'm going to dedicate at least one day, and I just signed off Saturdays to the kids, and started calling it Dadurday, and ended up taking them out on adventures and kind of giving mom a day off, and we ended up going on hikes and things. And really, I don't know exactly why it started, but I think I hashtagged something Dadurday just because it was cute. And it ended up being like, oh, that's cool, like it's a thing, you know. And then other people were like digging it and hashtagging stuff too, and it turned into this really cool thing that connected a lot of stuff for me. One of the things I struggled with my kids was, especially my little girl Nellie, we'd come to these points and she's like, it's like, all right, what do you want to do? And she's like, just play with me. And I'm like, but where's the project? You know, like, what are we gonna do? You know? And she wanted to just sit and play with things and make stuff up, which I love, but man, it drives me a little crazy. Like, I'm more driven than that. I want something a little bit more. So I basically just started doing different activities with them, and oftentimes it was on Saturday, and we just called it Dadurday, and we'd do craft projects and we'd do things, and I just picked stuff that I liked to do or that I would have liked to do as a kid, and then I drug my kids into it, and they ended up loving it. And we'd, you know, over-engineer all kinds of swings in the yard, and we'd go on hikes that were probably too hard for them, and ended up to the point where we were taking out a couple groups a couple times, like other dads. And it was just it's been a really cool thing. It's been cool to connect with my kids and see other people do the same and connect with their kids. So Dadurdays are pretty awesome. I did not have Dadurday as a kid, but only because there was no hashtags or Instagram. So it wasn't made up yet. What I did have was a dad who was extremely available for us. He was always present and he was always there. We did a lot of fun stuff, and we did bike rides, and he'd take us roller skating and just crazy things too. But the beauty of my dad was that his availability, even to the point where, well, first he was electronic and mechanical engineer, and he worked at home in a garage lab, making all kinds of crazy inventions and stuff like that. So that was always fun. But when we'd go out there to bug him, and he's independent contractor, you know, working for himself, he would be at his desk, like drafting something or doing some, you know, electronic design. And we'd go stand next to his thing or tap him or say hi or whatever. And he would, every single time, he would look at his watch, and he would pull his little memo pad over, and he would note down the time, and then he would physically turn his chair and look at us and say, how may I help you? And it was just such a beautiful thing now, thinking back to it, like how available he made himself for us. He didn't just take his attention away from work, he physically moved his body from, this is my work and now I'm focusing on you. And that was, you know, thinking back to that was a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I didn't have Dadurdays as a kid, but I had an extremely available father who was always there for us. And what I see as such a beautiful thing with thinking of like my little daughter Nellie, like just play with me, and thinking of how available he was. You know, he's not the same like roll around on the dirt with the kids guy that I am. but he had his own way of just being there, because that's all the kids want. That's all Nellie wants when she says, just play with me. she just wants me to be there with her and enjoy that moment and whatever that is that she needs. And that's kind of how we've done Dadurdays, where it's literally, sometimes we never plan it. We'll just start by going to a diner. Like that was our tradition. We'd just go to a diner, like whatever little scuzzy one we could find. And then it was like we'd be eating breakfast, and it's like, well, what do you guys want to do? We could go down to the beach, or we could go to the mountains, or we could go do whatever. And they'd sometimes have an idea, and we'd go do that. Or we'd go to the card shop and look at Pokemon cards, or we'd be out in Julian eating pie, or we would be down at the harbor wandering around the rocks. And it didn't matter what we were doing, because I was just there with the kids and I was available for them, and it was just, that's all they need. And so that was what was cool modeled with my dad. And yeah, so we didn't have a set Dadurday, but that's what I got from him, to be there available. And actually, like the last couple of years have been a really hard time with country song in my life. Like my business crashed in 2016, and just bad timing on some investments with a bad year of sales, and it just went under, like at its peak, and it was hard, real hard. And right after that, my marriage fell apart, and I just had a couple of really rough years. And the one thing, even letting go of everything, like jumping off social media, and I resigned a PTA presidency, and I stepped out of like doing Cub Scouts and all these different things that I was involved in, just to focus on trying to pull things back together. The one thing I held on to was the Dadurdays, and I kept doing that with the kids, and I kept making myself available. And it was kind of for me too, I just to have something, and I'm so grateful that I did, because now going through this really tough time and splitting up with their mom, I still have even a better relationship with them, and a more intimate relationship, because I held on to that, being available for them through that tough time. And I think that really just the simple act of doing Dadurdays got us through like just a lot of garbage. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said for being available for your kids, that's for sure. What's next? What's next is a brand called Tyack Made. It is a brand that produces goods for outdoorsmen and motorcycle people and musicians and people who like awesome, cool handcrafted stuff. And it's all my designs and art that I'm making. What was really tough about that and scary was putting myself back out there again, and in every way in life, and putting myself out there and dating again, and putting myself out there and starting another business, and not even having the money to start another business, like just full bootstrap mode. And that was, man, that was so freaking scary. Like to take your thing that you've made, your art, and to put a price tag on it and say it's worth this much money, and here, you can buy it. And then to put that out there like that, man, I can't even tell you how scary that was. And luckily I had some really awesome support from my lady love, who just pushed me through that. And I was able to get out there and do it. And all I've received back has been love from people, and appreciation for the stuff, and people happy that I'm making things again. And man, I tell you, when you get beat up like that, it's like the only thing you can do is just push and like hit it again. As a creative, like you just go crazy working that cubicle job, like you can't do it. So getting out there, pushing again, and the thing that honestly has kept me super grounded have been my kids, and have been doing Dadurdays. It's been like the one consistent thing that hasn't broken, and being able to have that as a grounding thing, and it's like I'm doing this for them, has been incredibly good and important. So I guess the word of the day would be, if life has crashed, get out there and do it again, and probably just party with your kids more. It seems to be working out, I guess.